From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
And welcome. Every citizen of India must read about the observations of the Supreme Court in the Maharashtra case today. The way the Supreme Court has pulled up the ruling dispensation in Maharashtra is exemplary and necessary. For the last year and a half, the way the Maharashtra government has functioned in so many cases has given a distinct feeling that this coalition in Maharashtra believes it is above the law and beyond the law, breaking houses of its critics, arresting whoever it wants at will, misusing the police openly, often turning it into a private army, registering false and concocted cases against anyone who questions them, and using every tactic from open threats to bullying to the misuse of the law. And all this, ladies and gentlemen, despite being pulled by the Supreme Court in the past as well. I haven't spoken about it much, but in the case of my arrest, for instance, as well, the Supreme Court, in a historic judgment of Justice Chandrachud and Justice Indira Banerjee, had clearly said, then what was the arrest about? There was no prima facie case at all to even detain, leave alone arrest. But you know what they did. The Supreme Court in that case had warned about, and I quote, the weaponization of the criminal justice system. What more can the court say? The most unfortunate thing is that all of this had fallen on deaf ears. And not just the government. The ruling dispensation has also used the Maharashtra Assembly to push through some of the bizarre decisions, most bizarre decisions and bizarre resolutions. Ladies and gentlemen, in my view, a state assembly in any state represents the will of the people. It is meant to be used for the welfare and the benefit of the people, not to score or carry out short-term political stunts, whether it is by displaying power by summoning citizens or fixing members of the opposition to maintain your tenuous hold on to power. In this context, the decision a year back to suspend 12 members of the BJP on grounds of bad behavior, the decision was frightful. I couldn't believe it. It was both reflective of the arbitrariness that bordered on the contempt of the law and for the law. Let me quote to you, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you all research it and find out what the Supreme Court said today, while completely striking down the suspension of the BJP MLAs. It said, "We have no hesitation in concluding that the impugned resolution suffers from the vice of being unconstitutional, grossly illegal, and irrational to the extent of period of suspension beyond the remainder of the concerned session." Look at the words, ladies and gentlemen, on your screen. Unconstitutional, grossly illegal, and irrational. I ask tonight, how many more unconstitutionalities, illegalities, and irrationalities will the people have to suffer? The court said, and I quote, "It is not a case of merely procedural irregularity committed by the legislature within the meaning of Article 212(1) of the Constitution." Unquote. I think unsolicited advice I think it is time for the government in Maharashtra, the MVA government, to calmly and in a mature way start introspecting on its functioning in the last year and a half. Some say the Supreme Court verdict will affect political events in Mumbai. For me, all I can say is that I just hope, even now, it has a sobering impact on the government and the political establishment, whose recklessness, and I underline the word recklessness, is under watch by the people, and of course, as is clear today, by the country's highest court. Ladies and gentlemen, the Maharashtra Award, debate number one. Debate number one, absolutely unmissable. Joining me tonight is senior Supreme Court advocate who was spearheading that case as well, Mahesh Jethmalani, on the implications of this. At 10 o'clock, I have a global roundtable, 8 countries connected, on Republic's global roundtable on whether Biden will go to war with Putin. And here are the headlines. This Friday evening on the Debate Tonight.
You can't ignore your own rules and ignore the constitutional position and just at your total arbitrary pleasure, you decide to, suspend people for a period of 1 year.
In a historic judgment, the Supreme Court revokes the suspension of 12 Maharashtra BJP MLAs.
There is a principle and a procedure for privilege that you are breaching the privilege of the House. You have to be given a notice. You have to be heard. That procedure was not followed.
Big setback to Uddhav Thackeray. BJP strength back to 106 in the assembly. Is the MVA government very vulnerable now?
Totally welcome the decision of the Supreme Court. I think this decision is a tight slap on the face of MVA government.
Political war in Maharashtra escalates. The BJP demands president's rule. Blow after blow after blow to the Vadras. Raj Babbar could be the next one quitting the Congress.
See, end of the day, there should be competition, right? There should be competition. And so my argument is that why blame me? Am I the only political party contesting in UP? No.
Owaisi aims to cement his position in Uttar Pradesh. Watch the unmissable election show. Track the leader this weekend. And Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin push the world on the edge of a war over Ukraine. Global roundtable at 10 p.m. tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the big story: by revoking the suspension of 12 BJP MLAs from the Maharashtra Assembly, the Supreme Court of India has delivered a historic judgment that upholds the Constitution of India. This 90-page order will have far-reaching legal, constitutional, and possibly political repercussions. Here's the landmark verdict, and then we debate.
July 5th, 2021. Maha Vikas Aghadi released this video, alleged disruption and justified the unprecedented suspension of 12 BJP MLAs. BJP's numbers were brought down from 106 to 94 with one swift move of the Speaker. But the Supreme Court verdict today, revoking the suspension, deals a huge blow to the Uddhav-led government and a big victory to the BJP.
The Supreme Court today, in an historic verdict, has set aside the suspension of the 12 BJP MLAs who were suspended for 1 year from the assembly. While doing so, Justice Khanvilkar's bench has clearly laid down the law and said this resolution was arbitrary, illegal and perverse. Also stating that they shall be reinstated and they cannot be suspended for a period of 1 year, the bench has now paved the way for the reinstatement of the 12 BJP MLAs.
The Supreme Court confined them to their limits in law and rightly said that this was unconstitutional. And indeed it was unconstitutional. You can't ignore your own rules and ignore the constitutional position and just at your total arbitrary pleasure, you decide to, suspend people for a period of 1 year.
This was a case where all the democratic norms were thrown to the winds by not only the speaker, really by the House actually. The House was playing partisan politics, and 11 members of the opposition were just suspended in a matter of a minute or 2 or 5. The House has to suspend or expel somebody. There is a principle and a procedure for privilege, that you are breaching the privilege of the House. You have to be given a notice. You have to be heard. That procedure was not followed.
This might make the BJP a majority once again in the state of Maharashtra, and it's only going to ensure that the political war in the state of Maharashtra now escalates.
We totally welcome the decision of the Supreme Court. I think this decision is a tight slap on the face of MVA government.
विधिमंडल सचिवालय उस निर्णय का अभ्यास करेंगे और निश्चित रूप से उस पर अंतिम निर्णय ये अध्यक्ष महोदय लेंगे.
With the historic judgment in Supreme Court, the politics in Maharashtra is all set to take an interesting turn. Will this order change the power games in the state remains to be seen.
Senior advocate in the Supreme Court, Mahesh Jethmalani, also member of Parliament, joining me live. Mr. Jethmalani, good evening. The implications of this, for those uninitiated into the details of this case, what is the implication of this? We've seen some very, very strong language that has been used by the Supreme Court today. It said the entire decision of the Maharashtra Assembly was unconstitutional. Even said it was illegal. Forget the word irrational. Besides the legal part of it, what is the implication of this judgment?
Well, I mean, the immediate implication, Arnab, is that 12 MLAs who were illegally and unconstitutionally suspended for a period beyond the session, which is the only period they could have been suspended for, are restored now. They are back to the Legislative Assembly and they can vote. So that's the immediate implication. What implication it has politically otherwise, I can't say. That's for the politicians in Maharashtra to give you an answer. But I look at this judgment as a very, very landmark judgment, Arnab, because it prevents legislative tyranny. And that is what the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly indulged in. It was manifestly illegal and it was contrary to their own rules. I mean, the rules of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, Rule 53 in particular, says that if anybody indulges in, any member indulges in disruptive behavior on the first occasion, he shall be asked to withdraw for the day. If he does it for a second time, it can only be for the remainder of the session and no more. This is their own rule framed. They have acted, which is why the Supreme Court said your decision is irrational. You have ignored your own rules, which have stood the test of time. So, Arnab, I see this as a blow for democracy within the four walls of the Legislative Assembly. It's a very, very salutary blow because it tells the legislature that even if you have a majority, you can go this far and no further. You have a right to suspend, but don't misuse that right. It's a very, very important decision in my respectful opinion.
Mr. Jethmalani, I can say this now. I was flabbergasted when this decision was taken, but not surprised completely, to be honest, because I have had some personal experience on a lighter note of the recklessness of the Maharashtra government. But having said that, recklessness also has its Lakshman Rekhas. My question to you is, Mr. Jethmalani, according to Section 151A of the Representation of People's Act 1951, any seat which is vacant for more than 6 months has to be filled in through a by-election. Now, my question is, how on earth do you then suspend an MLA, not 1, not 2, but 12 MLAs for 1 year? You're violating the Representation of People's Act, aren't you?
Absolutely. It's not just the Representation of People's Act. Look, as the Supreme Court said, for every day you take that irrational decision beyond the maximum permissible, which is the remainder of the session, for every day it becomes that much more irrational and then becomes perverse. That's point number one. But you pointed out also that to take it beyond 6 months in any event is not just a violation of the members' rights, but you are seriously prejudicing the rights of 12 constituencies in this case. The constituents of 12 legislative assembly constituencies in Maharashtra have been prejudiced because they've not been represented in the House for that period beyond 1 day. Remember, the session was only for 2 days on the 5th of July and it terminated on the 6th of July. So every day beyond the 6th of July that these gentlemen have been suspended is a manifest illegality and a blot of the Legislative Assembly of Maharashtra. I am surprised, but I have come to expect this from Nawab Malik, that he still doesn't show the humility to bow before a reasoned judgment of the Supreme Court and says we will examine it. I'm afraid that Nawab Malik is, it's about time that somebody tells this gentleman where his limits are.
Well, Nawab Malik, reacting to the order, since you mentioned, says it's a matter of the jurisdictions of legislative bodies. Sort of suggesting, and this shocks me as well, that the Supreme Court has indulged in some kind of judicial overreach. That seems to be the suggestion. Can this matter go to appeal? Is there any appeal possible? And what's your take on this suggestion of judicial overreach?
Well, I mean, there's no appeal possible, but I mean, there certainly is a review possible. But as you know, a review has extremely limited grounds. But if they want to go and review, they should take a decision and decide to go and review if they want to. I mean, in my own respectful, submission, I would say that there is no ground for a review whatsoever. The judgment is extremely well reasoned. But Mr. Nawab Malik can certainly take his chances in the Supreme Court one more time. It'll just be a waste of public time, and it'll show the hubris which this government has consistently ruled the state of Maharashtra. I mean, they really, Arnab, I have to tell you there are shocking things. I got a case where a sitting minister of the state of Maharashtra, because somebody lampooned him on social media, he has called him home. The police have been complicit with him. He's called him to his residence and mercilessly beaten him non-stop. And that matter is also pending. The man has finally been made an accused. The minister has been made an accused. I don't know how many people know that. The kind of lawlessness and the Gabbar-like behavior that's going on in Maharashtra is shocking. And these people keep saying that it's the BJP and the NDA that's undemocratic. The shoe rather is on the other foot. They should really sit and introspect of their own actions and see how completely arbitrary and perverse they are.
Mahesh Jethmalani putting it very, very vocally as usual, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting a good traction for what you're saying here today. But Mr. Jethmalani, last thought. Let's broad base it. My last question is on the word I began the program with tonight, which is recklessness. We've seen an unacceptable levels of recklessness. It can be arresting, summoning, calling, threatening, bullying, beating. And sometimes through actions like these of the assembly, which at the end of the day is a political action. Is this judgment going to put a sense of watch over state governments when it comes to their recklessness?
Looking at the attitude, particularly of the NCP, look at Nawab Malik's repeated and some of their actions. I mean, whether it was Anil Deshmukh, all these, looking at they're unrepentant. They're just unrepentant. I mean, they think they are above the law, which is why one is disillusioned. I mean, the MLA may have been an experiment, though, of course, they didn't have a mandate. The Shiv Sena got in because of Mr. Modi. But looking at their continuous actions and their, extremely unconstitutional and illegal behavior, I'm afraid I can't say that there's any hope that this government will be repentant.
Well, I'd say, Mr. Jethmalani, it's been a long climb in this, and congratulations on the victory there today in the Supreme Court. Thank you. Thank you. That's Mahesh Jethmalani, senior Supreme Court advocate, going straight into the political debate tonight. Represented on one side by Advocate Rahul Narvekar, Satyapal Jain, Additional Solicitor General of India, Ratan Sharda. It's a great panel, isn't it? Dr. Suresh Mane, founder and president of the Bahujan Republican Socialist Party. Kishore Tiwari is supporting the Shiv Sena and Abhishek Sudhir. He comes in as an advocate. He is supporting the Samajwadi Party, of course, anti-BJP, opening it up. Suresh Mana. This was avoidable. I say. I bring you into the debate with Rahul Narvekar. What was the need? I say, what was the need? Look at the drubbing that you got in court. Unconstitutional, illegal and irrational. The highest court of the country. Tell me, did the MVA government really think it's going to get away with this?
Arnab, may I come in now?
Yes, please.
Arnab, judgment is definitely milestone, historical, and it has several dimensions. As a member of a legal fraternity, I definitely welcome the judgment. There is no debate and dispute about it. But the point is that, as you had just now a discussion with Brother Mahesh Jethmalani, the Maharashtra government has one more option of a review petition again in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will be definitely, as a matter of legal fact, Supreme Court will entertain and hear the review petition also. Now, Mahesh Jethmalani made it very clear there is no point, there is no legal substance even for a review petition.
Yeah.
The Maharashtra government may lose also. I agree with that also. But here, Arnab, you have to understand the multidimensional conflicts between the BJP in Maharashtra and the Mahavikas Aghadi in Maharashtra. Especially between the Chief Minister and the government, the opposition leader Fadnavis and the government in Maharashtra. Then several agencies of the central government and government in Maharashtra. The governor in Maharashtra and the government of Uddhav Thackeray. So these conflicts have amalgamating into certain fights which are affecting the state of Maharashtra. The healthy functioning of the state, I do agree. But here, both the parties are equally responsible that are resulting into such kind of decisions which cannot be accepted, like dismissing the MLAs for an indefinite period.
This is an admission that this was vendetta.
No, I am not saying vendetta.
This is an absolute admission of vendetta.
Brother,
I mean, you are trying to score even by suspending 12 constitutionally elected representatives.
Can a governor function like a vendetta?
Are you saying that the conflict between two political parties, the conflict between the governor and the government results into expulsion of 12 MLAs? Is that what you are suggesting? This only establishes and proves beyond doubt the vendetta politics that is being played
on the nomination of 12 MLAs recommended by the Council of the Minister,
playing vendetta politics. Kindly tell me, you have admitted today that it is because of these conflicts that such decisions are being taken.
But at the same time, you admit illegality committed by others.
No, my question is, let me put it in perspective. Let me put it in perspective, gentlemen. 1 minute. Just give me a moment. Rahul Narvekar came into the debate, and Mr. Mane, my view. I'll tell you one thing, Mr. Mane. Let me tell you one thing. None of us, Rahul, I'm coming to you. I see your hand go up. I'm coming. Just take 30 seconds. Nobody is under any illusion that the BJP does not have problems with the Mahavikas Aghadi. Of course it does. The BJP believes that the Mahavikas Aghadi is snatched away despite not having a mandate. The Mahavikas Aghadi is made of smaller parties who came together. The BJP has 106 MLAs. It feels it is the single largest party, but that's not the issue. The issue is this. That see, you have a problem with BJP, you think they will break your government, you think you're constantly stressed about your government will survive, but you can't say, I don't like you, so I'm going to suspend your 12 MLAs and make sure that you don't get to the halfway mark. That is silly.
Correct.
That is silly.
Arnab, I agree.
But this is arbitrary. This is a way of functioning. See, Mr. Mane, let me tell you one thing. See, Mr. Mane. See, Mr. Mane, 1 minute, Mr. Mane, let me tell you. Mr. Mane. Mr. Mane, let me complete. Mr. Mane, you don't like the views of Arnab. So give him 10 minutes and say in 10 minutes, summon you to the assembly. 1 minute, just a minute. Let me complete my point, sir. Let me complete my point. You don't like my views? I give you 15 minutes, rush to the assembly, present yourself, summon him. You don't like Kangana Ranaut, summon her. You file this resolution, that resolution, no problem. But I'm saying, okay, this is about defying the Representation of People's Act. Defying the Representation of People's Act. By suspending MLAs for 12 months?
Arnab,
is this democratic?
I agree.
Is this democratic?
Arnab,
Kishore Tiwari, is it democratic?
No speaker, no any speaker, no
I will answer
chairman
your
of the
question.
House have right to
Let me
dismiss
answer
the
your
people for
question.
indefinite period.
Arnab,
We
let me
can't do
answer
that.
your question first.
But we have to understand the political background.
The politics cannot affect the legality, sir. You cannot commit illegalities and then say there is a political compulsion to carry out the illegalities.
Then whether other constitutional functionaries are allowed to commit that?
Or no,
My question is that.
That's okay, this debate is becoming hotter, certainly. What should I do? 1 minute. Just a minute. Okay, Rahul Narvekar countering. Wait, Kishore. Rahul Narvekar countering. Satyapal Jain coming to you. Rahul Narvekar.
If you feel there is any constitutional authority, if you feel there is any constitutional authority that has breached the provisions of the Constitution, you approach the court of law. You cannot settle scores by committing another unconstitutional event. That's just not acceptable in a democracy. That's just not acceptable in a democracy.
Impeachment procedure?
Kindly tell me. And that,
do you expect the impeachment procedure, Rahul?
To say the least, you are also challenging. Sir, hear me out. I've heard you loud and clear. You kindly hear me out for a minute.
Please.
Your party and you are also challenging the constitutional jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Let me tell you, the executive, the legislature, as well as the judiciary are independent. No one has supremacy over the other, but they have to function within the constitutional framework. And if anyone breaches the constitutional provision,
ladies and gentlemen, setting up a, we have a smashing debate that's going on here. 1 minute, gentlemen, 1 minute. Mr. Mane, you began the debate. Hear him. 1 minute. Just a minute. Everyone, just a minute. I want to just tell you one thing. See, Mr. Kishore Tiwari, don't be reckless.
Yeah.
How many more times will you be reckless? How many more times does the Supreme Court have to tell you? You forgot what they said in my case? Weaponization of the criminal justice system. You thought, 1 minute, you thought that you have the support of Lutyens media. They don't like Arnab. So we'll do whatever with Arnab. Lutyen media will clap, will get away with the unconstitutionality. No, you didn't. Today everybody is asking you. Everybody will ask you. Let me tell you, everybody will ask you. Now my question is this. My question is this. 1 minute. Kishore, let me complete. Kishore, let me complete. Kishore Tiwari, let me complete.
Yeah.
We have very learned additional Solicitor General also, Satyapal Jain from Chandigarh Live. So let's debate seriously. My question is the question of underlying agenda. What was the underlying agenda behind suspending 12 BJP MLAs for 1 year? What was the real reason? What was the real reason?
To establish an artificial majority. Arnab, give me half a minute. There is such a big divide between all these three parties in power today. They have these are ideologically
Rahul is on the debate. Rahul is on full floor tonight.
And in a situation like this, where they know that their own alliance partner may not support them, the easiest way of establishing an artificial majority is by suspending illegally and irrationally 12 legitimately elected MLAs.
Kishore's time to respond. Rahul, hear him now. Hear Kishore, Rahul.
Illegal.
Hear Kishore, Rahul, come on.
Lawless.
Kishore.
Rahul, I should be allowed to speak. Rahul, you don't have more than 80 members. And your 12 members misbehaved with the speaker. They manhandled the speaker. And our speaker, who has taken the decision on merit, being humiliated by all. My speaker is the constitutional authority. His decision cannot be challenged.
In deceit of mandate of the people, it is your party. These are three fractions which have come together and defeated the mandate given by the people of Maharashtra. Therefore,
the question is,
we are elected government, Rahul. Rahul, you are insulting the people of Maharashtra.
Satyapal Jain coming in on the debate on the left-hand side. Rahul, don't respond. Satyapal Jain is taking over from you. Rahul, 1 minute. Satyapal Jain is responding to Kishore.
May I?
Yes, Satyapal Jain. Satyapal Jain is on the debate, viewers.
I think today is the day after the. Today is the day of feeling pride by all the citizens of India, maybe belonging to any political party, that the Supreme Court has restored the prestige of the Constitution of India and has once again established neither the legislature nor the executive nor the judiciary is supreme. All are supreme in their own fields, but ultimately supremacy is of the Constitution of India. The way the Maharashtra Assembly passed the resolution suspending these MLAs, the motion is moved, immediately put to vote, and the MLAs are suspended. I think that was the most arbitrary manner in which anything could be done. I am saying this. Had this been if this principle is followed in other states, Mr. Vajpayee's government fell by just one vote in 1998. Had he adopted the same tactic, suspend the MPs of the other parties and then prove your majority. This was an attempt by the Maharashtra coalition government to turn the majority of the opposition into minority and to ensure a turn for their own minority government. I think the findings by the Supreme Court, last paragraph, everywhere they have discussed, Article 2 Article
Satyapal Jain.
The Representation of People Act also, by shouting you cannot shadow down the judgment of the Supreme Court. It is a slap on the face of the Maharashtra government, as well as the Maharashtra Speaker, as well as those MLAs who voted for the resolution. It's a slap on their face, and I think they learned a lesson. But it seems they are not learning any lesson. They want to go with their same anti-constitutional, anti-people, anti-law propositions. And I am very sure that people taught a lesson to Mrs. Indira Gandhi when she flouted the Constitution in 1975. Maharashtra government will also have to be taught the same principle by the people of Maharashtra. You want to cow down everybody. You don't want to listen to the dissent. You don't want to tolerate the opposition MLAs. You don't have the majority. But by suspending MLAs, you want to turn your minority into majority. Country will not accept it. Country rejected in 75. Country rejected Mrs. Gandhi's emergency. Country rejected all other actions. And country, the Maharashtra will reject this action of the Maharashtra Assembly also. You cannot cow down people.
Satyapal Jain, please. One audio. Satyapal Jain, please.
You may suspend 11 MLAs for a few months, for a few days. But ultimately, the law of the land will prevail. The Constitution will prevail. And ultimately, your arbitrariness, your whimsical attitudes will not be tolerated by the people at large.
Okay, a political question goes out now to what are you showing, Satyapal Jain?
If you do not want to learn a lesson, if you don't want to follow the law, if you don't follow the Constitution of India, you will not be able to survive for a very long time. The people of Maharashtra are well educated. It is the elite of the country. They understand the implication of the judgment. And I think instead of taking a lesson from this judgment, you want to challenge it. Yes, Supreme Court has done it, not in one case. How can Speaker overpower the Constitution?
Kishore Tiwari, may I say this to you? May I say this to you? I often feel Kishore Tiwari. Remember? 1 minute, yeah. I'm just take a pause, take a breath. I want to make you remember something. Remember how you used to come on TV and support Parambi?
You don't intermix your arrest.
And Sachin was
intermix your arrest.
Anyway, I won't remind you of that. Ratan Sharda and Abhishek, let's draw them into the debate. Ratan Sharda, did the MVA government, political question, do this because the Shiv Sena has only, and I repeat, only 56 MLAs in a 288 member house. That therefore effectively the Shiv Sena, with just 56 MLAs and 16.6% of the vote, is about half the size of the BJP in Maharashtra. So was that the idea, that they felt that, the BJP could break the government? Was that the reason? Ratan Sharda opens. Abhishek responds.
This is a government built on deceit. It's a government which has been foolishly reckless. We have seen in your case, already talked about that. You know what has happened in Palghar today? The illegal slaughter, people are doing illegal slaughter. When police stopped it, police was attacked. This is what happens when you let the law go mad with the governance. You don't allow police to work properly. You don't allow law to work properly. They have not apologized for confronting the Supreme Court for all the wrong reasons. Mr. Kishore Tiwari today, another channel, said that Supreme Court has created a confrontation. He said Supreme Court is soft on BJP. So it was a contempt of court. These people have no shame at all. Is it first time that people have gone to the court for speakers? No. Is it the first time that Supreme Court has given a judgment? No. When it goes against them, they say it's bad judgment. Supreme Court is soft on BJP. When it goes in their favor, they are very happy. What are the statements of Supreme Court? Uttarakhand High Court, it went against BJP. Article would not offer shield when what is at stake is action which is in violation of constitutional guarantees and mandatory provision of the state. It said if Speaker's decision violates Parliament rules, this is 2017, we can interfere. You have so many judgments. See, these people, 5-member panel also said judiciary can't interfere in the Speaker's decision. It was Manohar Joshi's decision when we said without President's address. So Supreme Court has been very balanced. It has taken both the sides. Rohinton Nariman said, question why a speaker whose members of the particular party or insider in the house should take the final arbitrator role. This is against the speaker. In one case, the Supreme Court said,
no, but is my question was political. My question was political.
Yes.
And my question was political. There is a precarious precipice of power. My question is political. There's a precarious precipice of power on which the MVA is sitting. It's very precarious. Ratan Sharda, I'll come back to you. I want to go back to Rahul Narvekar. Is the MVA afraid that the BJP can knock them off the precarious precipice of power on which they are sitting right now? I don't see any other reasonable explanation for why they would do something like this.
Arnab, the answer to your question goes to the inception of this government. Kindly understand that this government has been formed by 3 alliance partners who are ideologically poles apart. So they know there's going to be confrontation and conflict at every point of time.
But you're 39 seats to the halfway mark. But you're 39 seats to the halfway mark. What's the political? Rahul, 1 minute. You're only 39 seats off the halfway mark now. My question is, what's the next political move?
I'll tell you the answer to that. I'll give you the answer to that. Yes, I'll tell you the answer to that. In the last assembly session, there were various conflicting views within the government. And therefore, there was also the speaker's election, which was due. And they knew that one of the alliance partners would perhaps not support the candidature of the MVA. And therefore, to establish an artificial majority, the only tactic that this government had was to suspend 12 MLAs of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And that's known to one and all.
Kishore,
and this is not the only time that this is going to happen. This government is a conflicting government within itself. And therefore, you will see such episodes happening time and again.
You answer, Rahul, why the governor refuses to nominate 12 MLA. Can you answer that? Please answer that, na.
It's the governor, because it is the governor's prerogative, and the Constitution of India does not mandate any particular time for the governor. Can you explain why do you give motivated list to the governor?
That's your ruling.
Can you explain?
That's your ruling.
Explain why do you give motivated list to the governor? What does the constitutional mandate? The constitutional mandate.
Rahul, let me cut the chase. Are you trying to break the Maharashtra government? Rahul, 1 second. Rahul, 1 minute. Rahul, my question to you, please. Direct question, Rahul. I mean, that's not simple question here, Rahul. 1 minute. Suresh Mane, 1 minute. Suresh Mane, 1 minute. Rahul, now see, let's talk political brass tacks. It is being rumored that you are very actively working within some members of the MVA, and this rumor has been there for some time, and it is being rumored again that you were only waiting for the Supreme Court decision to make your move.
Let them bring no confidence motion.
Let me tell you, we don't need to make any efforts to break. We don't need to make any efforts to break this alliance. This alliance is going to fall on its own. Look at the conflicting views they take every day. One alliance.
No, that's all right. No, that's all. No, Rahul, your smile is giving it away. Tell us the real story. No, I mean, why are you giving us half the story? Abhishek Sudhir wants to know the real story. He wants to know the full story from you, Rahul, as to what you're up to. Don't give away half the story.
No, we are up to providing a good and a diligent opposition to this government. We are the custodians of the rights of the people of Maharashtra. We will fight for them on the floor of the House. We will fight for them on the streets of Maharashtra. And whenever the government takes an arbitrary, unconstitutional, unwarranted decision in policy or otherwise, we as the opposition party will fight tooth and nail against this government till we are not mandated.
Abhishek Sudhir's response, 9:44 p.m. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Goswami, I've waited patiently. I hope you'll allow me 2 minutes. You've called me on this panel as an advocate, as a former professor of constitutional law, and as an author of a book on the Constitution of India 1950. I just want to explain the legal nuances of this judgment. First of all, let's get started with Article 212 of the Constitution of India. Article 212 says, no proceedings of a legislative assembly shall be called into question by any court on the grounds of irregularity of procedure. The argument made by the Speaker before the Supreme Court was that this was a mere irregularity of procedure. Only when there is illegality of procedure can the Supreme Court intervene. So I take exception to what Mr. Jethmalani said at the start of your program. This was a mere irregularity. The Supreme Court concluded that this was illegality. I disagree with that. They are saying that you don't have the power to suspend an MLA for more than 60 days or for more than the duration
if you have the majority, then why are you nervous?
What the Speaker has an inherent
But if you have a majority, why are you nervous? The people have elected these 12 MLAs, no? The people have elected. The Speaker didn't elect the 12 MLAs.
To expel a member.
I beg to differ.
When you have the power to expel a member.
I beg to differ.
When you have the power to expel a member, how can you say he doesn't have the power to suspend? And Mr. Goswami, one last point. Rahul, I listened to you patiently. Rahul, I listened to you patiently. Give me 30 seconds, please.
To your argument.
Rahul, I listened to you patiently. Give me 30 seconds.
Let me correct you for just once. Let me correct you. Just a minute.
30 seconds.
Let me put the legal provisions.
30 seconds.
Let me put the legal provisions in perspective for a minute. For a minute, let me put the legal provisions in perspective.
Yeah.
Kindly understand.
But then let me respond and listen.
Ordinarily, the Speaker's decision or the proceedings within the legislature should not be interfered by the judiciary or otherwise. But the decision has to be within the framework of the Constitution. If it is arbitrary, if it is illegal, if it is perverse,
where does
naturally
it say that?
The only authority
to
adjudicate that is the Supreme Court. Under the writ jurisdiction,
it says that.
Under the writ jurisdiction,
Unfortunately, once again, I'll have to tell Abhishek, 1 minute. May I intervene between both of you lawyers and just make a small submission here, viewers? A small submission, Rahul, please give me a moment. I'll tell you my reading of it. I'll tell you.
Acting arbitrary
Rahul,
is against the provisions of the Constitution.
No. Let me.
The provisions of Article 14 of the Constitution.
Let me tell you my reading of it. Mr. Jain, Abhishek, 1 minute. Let me tell you my reading of it. Unfortunately, it appears to me that Abhishek Sudhir does not understand Article 212 of the Constitution of India. Otherwise, he would not have made such a statement. Neither has he read the judgment. Having made these two fatal flaws, he's trying to make a point here today. The court has clearly said that it is not a case of mere procedural irregularity committed by the legislature. This means that it goes well beyond irregularity to unconstitutional and illegal action. And the court is asking what is the desperate need for such action. Yes. And Article 212 says the courts are not required not to inquire into the proceedings of the legislature. Allow me, I know Article 212 like the back of my hand.
Of the Constitution of India.
But you must understand this is not an ordinary case.
Arnab, the court has held this to be an arbitrary decision.
The court has said
of Article 14 of the Constitution. Tell me,
we can disagree with the findings of the court. As citizens, we ask for consistency in adjudication. As citizens,
no, he's trying to escape now. Satyapal Jain is trying to escape now.
Supreme Court.
No. Satyapal Jain, responding. Satyapal Jain.
I may just remind my all friends that so far as Article 212 is concerned, so far as Article 212 is concerned, right from Kiheto Holohon, which was a constitution. Just 1 minute. Please give me 1 minute. Please, Mister, give me 1 minute. So far as Article,
that is inconsistency.
My dear colleague, Article 212 has been considered by the Supreme Court in a number of judgments. Even in Kiheto Holohon, 1992, the Supreme Court said that when the Speaker acts for the disqualification of the MLAs under the anti-defection law, these are not the proceedings within the House. So they are outside the ambit of Article 212. These provisions were laid down 30 years back and has been followed in almost all the judgments. So when you decide about the suspension, expulsion, disqualification of the MLAs, these are not the proceedings within the Article 212 of the Constitution of India. And this is what Supreme Court has recorded a finding that they do not fall within the preview Article 212.
Even Keshav Singh. Yes, I agree. 1 minute I have left. We've gone into the legality. I love that, but I just want to make a political point. I think what's happening here is, Kishore, you are worried that what the BJP did in Karnataka or in Madhya Pradesh will happen in Maharashtra, because in BJP in Karnataka Assembly, after being the single largest party, it got 10 MLAs from the JDS and the Congress to switch alliances and ensured the downfall of the Congress-JDS alliance. In Madhya Pradesh, right? In Madhya Pradesh, when the 15-month-old Kamal Nath-led Congress government fell, after 22 MLAs resigned, relegating them from the position of the largest party. The BJP then formed the government. The BJP government is there. So I think Ratan Sharda, the real concern is BJP, what it did in Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka, it will do in Maharashtra. Ratan Sharda.
There is a deep unease within MVA, Mahavinash Agadi since last 2 years. They know they live day by day. They live day on day. They try to do whatever they can within every day, get some funds created and do something which will benefit their people. And they are not governing. The governing is totally gone. Has anybody asked how many days a chief minister come to office? Nobody asked.
And now after 5 years, we will be elected for 25 years.
Record of
After
BJP
5 years,
better
we
than
will
any
be
other
elected
record.
for 25
you
years.
ask people what you have done, what condition brought to
Ratan
Maharashtra.
Sharda, we have
it is horrendous.
168
I live in
members
Mumbai, I am a Maharashtrian.
We have 168
the terrible
MLAs
condition you have done to the government,
and we will
to the Maharashtra
rule for
government.
5 years.
Everybody
and
knows.
then we will
You have
rule
only
for
been bullying
25
people.
years.
You have been now to get new sources.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, interesting debate. The situation in Maharashtra, all I say right now is very fluid. And on the other side, ladies and gentlemen, the big global roundtable, there are big tensions between Russia, NATO, the United States of America, NATO now pulling in China. What are we going to do? What if there's war in Ukraine? What if the 100,000 Russian soldiers now increase to 150,000 and they actually cross the border? If Ukraine goes to war, what happens to the rest of the world? Will Biden and Putin take us to the edge of another global conflict? In a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, unmissable global roundtable.